All right, so my name is Alistair, and I run Cloud Connect and the cloud content at Interop, and I'm going to spend a bunch of time talking about cloud computing and what I call the democratization of IT. Now, IT is under significant change these days, and it's being disrupted in a very important way. Until recently, IT was a monopoly, which really means that it was very few people that had access to this technology, and they kind of controlled it. And that was actually really good for the boardroom, because people who were running companies like IT, they really liked the idea of having control over their IT processing systems and having it kind of locked down. But you viewed IT as a sort of cost center in the company. Now, the guys in the boardroom have a new set of opinions, which is that I want to outsource a lot of my IT or a lot of my things that aren't strategic. And so there's this massive change going on in computing right now, where people look at something they used to have in-house and have now said, I don't want that anymore, it's not strategic for me to own it. And the guys in the IT department often don't like that, because all of a sudden, IT got competitive. Once upon a time, IT had this monopoly over all of the technical decisions in the company. Today, the technical decisions may result in you buying software as a service or using Amazon Web Services or something else. And so that person who's used to purchasing IT equipment and making all the IT decisions and telling you what browser you can use and telling you what email you can use is finding that they've got these competitors they never let in, who are now threatening their jobs, threatening what they're doing. And so IT professionals are suddenly realizing they have to compete with third parties. Now, there's a reason why IT was a monopoly. It wasn't a bad thing for IT to be a monopoly, and economics tells us a lot about this. The first reason that IT was a monopoly is that computers were really expensive. Does anybody know what this was? This is a Cray supercomputer, and the Cray supercomputer had 16 megs of memory. Remember, there was a time when we were really lean with our programming. I had a chess game that fit in less memory than the eBay logo on my first computer. The eBay logo is about 14 kilobytes. My first chess game was about 12 kilobytes. That's smaller than the picture. So computing's come a long way. 16 megs was a tremendous amount of computing power once. Computers were really, really expensive. And the problem with computers being expensive is that we didn't have any spare computing cycles to let people, to make it easier for people to work with those computers. So you had to flip switches, you had to do all kinds of things that were difficult. And today, if you think about an iPhone Touch, for example, most of the computing power in your iPhone Touch goes to making it easy for you to use it. It's making the display beautiful. It's making it tactile. It's having it understand when you tap versus double tap versus pinched. That's the computer doing most of the work to communicate with the human. But back in the days of computing, when it was a monopoly, computers were really expensive. Humans were really cheap, which is why we forced people to use punched cards or to flip switches to program them or to write in ugly, ugly programming languages like assembler.